The Ravens didn't play this week, but it is still a victory Monday to us. That and so much more on this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Yes, welcome back to, I'm going to say, a Victory Monday edition of the Purple Rain Podcast. I'm going to enjoy as many victories as possible. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us on the Purple Rain Podcast. It is episode 277, so why not go through some of the people who do wear number 77 for us? The Matt Burke episode, Bradley Bozeman, Austin Howard. Can I get some DeAndre Wesley? And why not Orlando Brown Sr. from 96 to 2005? Thank you to all for coming through this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow this guy over here, right there, on X or on Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow me on X at simply AS10 or on Instagram at simply AS10.prod. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. You know, it's not too far away from Thanksgiving. You know, Christmas trees are up, Christmas decorations are out. You know, it's that time. So if you want to get an early head start, go on Manscaped, PRP, 20% off your whole order, free national shipping. But I got to ask you first, Sutton, how was your weekend? No Ravens football, no stress, right?
It was a little a little bit
Okay.
stressful. The title of the video kind of says it all. The Steelers get a win. They squeak their way out of Landover, with a win over the Commanders, 28-27. And I was really, really, really hoping that they could get that one, and the Steelers can get knocked down just one notch in the AFC North, and we could take sole ownership of the top spot. That would have been great. That'd have been great. But so it was a little bit of stress yesterday watching that game, especially because it felt pretty back and forth, and you thought the Commanders had a really, really good shot to win it, but they just could not close it. And I think that kind of speaks to really just how well coached of a team the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I think Mike Tomlin's doing a hell of a job. He's always done a hell of a job with whatever he has at his disposal, and he's making the most out of Russell Wilson right now. I think they're 3-0 with Russ as a starting quarterback, so it's going to be a big challenge trying to win the division over them. And, it's all the more reason why the game this coming up weekend, 1 p.m. CBS against the Steelers at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's going to be a absolutely huge game. Probably our biggest game yet in terms of seeding and our playoff contention, things like that. So I say all that to say I'm doing well, although I am kind of mulling over this game that we have coming up, because again, it's a huge game. We're going to preview it on Thursday, so we're not going to get too much deep into the weeds on that game. But I guess we can just kind of jump right into it. And this episode is really going to be about just kind of reviewing what happened yesterday in the Week 10 games, right? So we're probably not going to go too long tonight, right? Not going to hold you guys too long, but we do want to talk about some key things that are going on around the league that do have an impact on the Ravens. So, Alex, I know you said you were watching Red Zone yesterday, right?
Yeah, I was. That's how I usually watch games when we're not playing at the 1 or 4 or 25 window. Just to kind of, watch it. Now, I will, flip it on to a game that's close, but it was mainly Red Zone, and there were a lot of, I thought, solid games on yesterday. So I did get to watch the ones that meant more to the Ravens a little bit closer. But yes, it was mainly Red Zone for me yesterday.
Yeah. By the way, SG in the house says, "Yo, what's up, Rain Gang? The stash is back. I like it."
Nah. I just did the full face shave this morning, but it won't be here long. Who knows? We're just dabbling.
The power of the stash, man. Don't underestimate it. Dre in the house says, "What's up, Purple Rain Gang? What's going on, Dre? Appreciate you for coming through." Of course, we got RJ Horry in the house. Says, "Yes, sir. We live. Yes, sir. We are." Yeah. Thank you for coming through. Shamil Malik is in the house as well. We got Don Royal who's saying George Pickens is going to be a problem. Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be probably the biggest thorn in our side in that game coming up on Sunday. So let's get into a little bit more breaking down the Steelers win over the Commanders, because I'm sure since you were watching Red Zone, you got all the key moments from that game. Early on in the game, it really did seem like that the Commanders were, they looked for real. They looked for real. They were toe to toe with the Steelers. They had a couple of mishaps. I think there was the one where Zacchaeus, he drops the punt, he muffs the punt. That kind of swung the game a little bit. And then, but they came back, scored a touchdown. Overall, when I'm looking at the stats here, Alex, I don't think that they had a bad game, the Commanders. But again, it just came down to some small things at the end. I think that they were, outcoached a little bit. And that's where I say I have to tip my cap to Mike Tomlin. But going through some of the numbers here from the Steelers first, actually. Russell Wilson, 14 for 28, 195 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And you look at the receivers, George Pickens, 5 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. He had the kind of like the rainbow ball to him for the touchdown. That was really, man, kind of scary to see. And I think that's why Don Royal's kind of saying here Pickens will be a problem. But Alex, what are some of the main things that you took away from that game? And for me, it was the Steelers offense and them showing up when they needed to, especially with the deep ball to Mike Williams at the end. But what were some key things that you took away from that Steelers win over the Commanders?
The Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers black magic is real. Just because of, thank you, Jessica. Just mainly because of one thing. How many teams fake punt it in their own 20, don't get it, and still win the game? Like, honestly, like that to me, it was insane. But some takeaways I'm going to get away here is this Ravens defense next week. Russ ain't throwing for 195 against us. We would be lucky if he threw for 195 because I don't see their running game running all over, especially with Najee going down. I don't know what he has, but who knows if he'll play. And Jalen Warren. But I'm looking at Pickens, and people are bringing up for a good reason because that catch he made yesterday, he's going to make it against Stevens, 1,000,000%.
Oh, easy.
It's and even if Stevens reverted back to last year, he's still going to make that same play. I'm worried about him 1,000%. And honestly, Freiermuth as well. I thought he had a great game yesterday, and we have trouble with tight ends, it feels like. We were letting Gesicki and whoever it is from the Bengals, I forget his name, cook us on Thursday.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are or how mid you are. You're going to have a good game against this Ravens defense if you're tight end. And who knows if Kyle Hamilton's going to play because, we can put him on the tight ends, but, it hasn't looked good. And, he went down last week. And it's just a lot of his, I think it's a mind game as well because they have our number. And if this team can go into Pittsburgh and leave with a win, but I'm going to go further and say convincing win, it does a lot for us. And there's the saying, you aren't a Raven until you win in Pittsburgh. And a lot of these guys have not won in Pittsburgh on this team yet. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Lamar's last win against them was in 2019 in Pittsburgh. It was Anthony Brown and Huntley in 2022 when we won there. So a lot of the guys on this team aren't Ravens yet. So let's hope that can change this weekend. But I want to hear what you had to say. I feel like you probably watched the game. I just was catching the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game in full, and as I'm hearing you talk about George Pickens and how he's going to easily make that same catch over Brandon Stevens this upcoming week, like it's just a foregone conclusion. We know it. Russell Wilson is going to try him. I think that Brandon Stevens is kind of like a highlight for offensive coordinators this season. Like when the Ravens are on the schedule and you're trying to scheme up a game plan in order to beat them, you're looking at the quarterback one, which is Brandon Stevens. They put him on the best guys like often, very, very often. And so I just think that they're going to try to attack him. That's going to be one of our biggest pain points. It's going to be one of those games where we're going to have to stop the run early and get them behind the sticks, right? Get them behind and down in distance and force them into a lot of third and longs. And we're just going to have to get after Russell Wilson. He's not as athletic as he used to be, although he still has some of the legs. But somebody's going to have to step up in that pass rush. That's where it's going to start and end because we can get them. I guarantee you, we're going to stop the run on first and second down. They're going to get to third and long or third and medium, and they're going to go to Pickens, right? They're going to see what Pickens has got. That's going to be their third down guy. That's going to be their plan. I'm just telling everybody watching now that it's going to be the game plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers this upcoming Sunday, 1 p.m. CBS. First and second down, run the ball, maybe some play action here and there. But on third down, they're going to George Pickens. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Ravens manage that. Dylan says here in the chat, Marlon has also struggled with George Pickens over the years, and I don't know if Nate Wiggins' thin frame would be ideal on George Pickens. Now, in terms of like entertainment, like Nate Wiggins on George Pickens would be just that's cinema. That is TV right there. I need to see that. Just the attitude from both guys. I could see them like jawing at each other, going back and forth, and it would just be a war of attrition. I think that Pickens has more of the experience. He's got that spectacular catch ability. So he's one of those guys where, like, again, and this is where I think that Brandon Stevens, this is why I think Brandon Stevens is going to struggle so much, because what's the biggest knock on Stevens? The ball skills. It's not the fact that he's just like completely lost in the sauce most of the time. Most of the time he's there around the play, around the ball. He just can't finish the play. And what does George Pickens specialize in? Ball skills, spectacular catch, right? That's his X factor if we want to bring it back to Madden, whatever year that was, right? Like that's what he does. So I think it's just going to be like sort of a mismatch. And it's I'm already kind of getting frustrated thinking about it. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and those are fantastic points on the correct points because I kind of want to see Marlon on him, but last time Marlon was on Pickens, we saw him get burned by Kenny Pickett, hits him up the sideline, score the go-ahead touchdown against us. Um, it'll probably be Stevens. Pickens is no Jamar Chase, thankfully. He's still a damn good receiver, but Jamar Chase, top three, however you want to put him. I don't expect him to have 264 yards. I go what? I hope I'm right there. But it's just kind of also with Zach Ware, like, are your guys gonna know their assignments? Because once again, it sounds like it's more on the players and not Zach Ware. I saw, I think Kyle Phoenix Barber was mentioning it, like players are still saying it's not what he's calling. It's the players aren't communicating and they're getting it wrong. Well, what changed from last year to this year? In the secondary, you lost Geno Stone. That was it, and he wasn't even a starter. You bring Eddie Jackson, who is a backup. You still got Marlowe, Stevens, Millette. Yeah, Wiggins is a rookie, but Wiggins is the second best behind Marlon. So where's all this miscommunication coming from? Are you making it too intricate? Is it maybe we got a new secondary coach? It could be that. It's just frustrating because now we're in November 11th. It is almost Thanksgiving, and the secondary still is having miscommunication. Super Bowl winning teams don't do that. They should get that fixed soon, but maybe we get it fixed at the right time. I have no idea, but it's just frustrating, just seeing that. And I can imagine watching on TV, and when Burrow steps back and hauls a deep pass, you probably were expecting to be caught, weren't you? That's how I was. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody's open.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then while we're talking about this game, I don't want to go too much into it, but can the receivers please find their hands? Because everybody, Zay's hands, Bateman's hands, and Aguilar's hands were just left in Baltimore last year when we played the Steelers, dropping passes left, right, and center. That was the most impressive 0 touchdown, 1 interception game you will see from a quarterback because Lamar was doing everything right and his receivers were dropping the ball. So, yeah, with the full previews on Thursday, but there's just a lot of things that we have to do right to win there. And I'm just going to keep saying it. You aren't a Raven until you win at Pittsburgh. So a lot of these guys got something to show me.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have our first super chat donation. This one's coming from D Watts. What's going on, brother? Says, what are your thoughts on the KC game yesterday? Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of go around the league a little bit and talk about some of these other games that happened. But again, thank you, D Watts, for your super chat donation. We appreciate it.
Devil Magic, Mahomes Magic.
Yeah.
I don't want to put them up there with the 2020 Steelers because I think they're worse. The only reason why they're not bigger frauds is because they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, but they're winning games by one possession. At least the 2020 Steelers are winning games by multiple possessions. This Chiefs team, like Bo Nix goes in there and leading them on a drive, and it's the same Broncos and Bo Nix. I think we put 41 on up last week at our house. He goes into Arrowhead, is leading them for most of the drive. Leads them on a game-winning possession, gets them a field goal, and they block it. You just can't beat them. You can't beat them at all. It's impossible.
That's another frustrating thing to see around the league. Like, if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago if I thought that the Ravens still had some sort of outside shot to getting the 1 seed in the AFC, I would have said, yeah. Like I think that the Chiefs can probably drop a couple here and here or there. But like the game yesterday, right? Like, I just don't understand. Like the divisional opponent, like they have you dead to rights. All they got to do is make the field goal. They win. They go home. But like you said, the black magic, the red magic, whatever it is that they got going on, the voodoo, I don't want to say it's rigged or anything like that. But it's just like I just don't understand how you can get that lucky. It takes a little bit of luck to win a football game, believe it or not. But for them to have like this type of luck, whether it be the refs, whether it be a blocked field goal, which is such a low percentage thing to happen. Like, just what are the odds? You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, the Ravens have no shot at the 1 seed anymore. It looks like that the Chiefs are just going to go ahead and wrap that up. And I think games like yesterday really like wake up teams like the Chiefs and kind of galvanizes them a little bit. It's like, oh, we just bled a little bit. Like we can almost lose. Like we were on the verge of losing. So let's tighten up the ship a little bit and keep it rolling. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like right off the top of my head. Let me actually pull that up really quick. Let me see who they've got.
Yeah,
They got the
Bills this
Bills, I
week.
think, this week. Yeah, the Bills this week. Let me see. So yeah, they got the Bills this week in Buffalo. Then they've got the Panthers, then the Raiders, then the Chargers, then the Browns, Texans, Steelers on Christmas Day. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
And then they ended with the Broncos again in Denver. So I mean, and when you're looking at which one of those games that they could potentially drop, I mean, the Chargers are one you can look at. They've been playing pretty good football as of recently, and that's another divisional opponent. So maybe. But other than that, in the Bills game, I think that they could win out.
so do
They
I.
could.
I,
Yeah.
I kind of want them to. I want to see him. I want to end. I want to end the streak if possible. Like that's the homer in me. That's the Ravens fan saying I kind of want them to win out. We see him in Arrowhead and we beat them. Like I kind of want that because I think K-Dog brought it up. They're the new Patriots. We lost in a heartbreaking fashion last year in the AFC Championship game. We play them again, and who knows what happens. We've seen the story before, but we last year was at Baltimore. But I'm just kind of getting reminiscences of 2012. That's all I'm saying. But I think if they were to lose any week, it would be this week because the Bills, I mean, they had a good win, but still, they're vulnerable. They look vulnerable. They might get Cooper back as well. That'd be a big boost. So yeah, the Chiefs right now, they don't look like they're going to lose, not because they're that good. It's just because everything's going their way.
Yeah.
And I mean, he torched us, but Xavier Worthy really hasn't been as explosive as we thought he was going to be. D Hop's, getting their catches, and then Kelsey, of course, is perfect and does everything right. But Mahomes, to me, he'll turn it on in the playoffs. But like I said, Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
and
I don't even think that's debatable.
I hope it isn't. I think he's
Yeah.
playing the best ball after last night too. It's really there's no debate.
Yeah. And mainly with the Chiefs, they're winning games by like running the football and playing good defense, right? And the Chiefs, and if you're a Chiefs fan listening to this, I don't know if there's any Chiefs fans who listen to this podcast, but you have to be you have to realize how lucky you are to have a defensive coordinator that's so successful, yet nobody in the league wants him as a head coach. Like that is just such it's a blessing for them, to be honest with you, because they're not going to get their defensive coordinator poached away from them, Steve Spagnuolo, that is, and he's been so damn good for them, these past couple of seasons, and it's just wow. They it seems like they have it all right now. They're kind of playing with house money. They want to get to that three-peat, and they seem to be well on their way. I don't even think that they've lost a game since. Have they even lost a game since Taylor Swift has been a fan?
Yeah, it's been like three. The Raiders game of Christmas last year was their last loss, I think.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe she's only witnessed the Chiefs lose one time, and she's witnessed them win a Super Bowl in her very short fandom. It's so crazy. Everything about that franchise right now is just like Disneyland fairy tale. How are you doing this, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you though, Alex. I think that if we can see them again in the playoffs and we can knock them off, that would be so sweet, man. That would be amazing. Um, but yeah, I said here in the chat, go ahead and drop some
Yeah,
questions. Alex, you sound like you had something for me.
no, there's one of these, and it's from Black Ice, and I've been thinking about this too. Black Ice, Mister and Mrs. I don't know. Can you imagine the Ravens getting the 2 seed and have to play the Bengals? I don't want to see them again. I don't. I know he just swept them. I don't want to see the Bengals in the playoff for the third time. History doesn't bode well for us. Beating teams 3 times. Yes, they beat us 3 times in 2022. We didn't have our star quarterback with us. I would love not to see them again. I don't want them to make the playoffs, but I think the AFC is so freaking weak. They squeak in. And for that reason, I'd be happy with the 3. I don't want to see the Bengals again. And that's just being a realist because I saw what Jamar did to us, and I don't want to see an even more pissed off Jamar Chase against us again. So I don't want to imagine this. I would rather play um, another team. Just no thank you to the Bengals, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that one. I probably would not want to face them for a third time either because you've seen what they do to our defense, right? And like literally the only question going into that game would be, okay, can the Ravens offense keep up again and just like outpace them again for a third time? And that's a big ask, right? That is a huge ask. So I don't know. Uh, I'd rather play like maybe like an LA or somebody like that. I don't know. But yeah, that would be a very, very tough out. Very tough out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see what questions we have from y'all in here. We got Dre dropping this question, says top three most disappointing teams in 2024. For me, if I'm gonna just rattle these off really quickly, I'll say the Jets, the Cowboys, and I'll go the 49ers as well. I know that they've been winning games and spots and whatnot, but they just do not look all the way quite the same as they have in years past. Like, look kind of like that juggernaut. I know Christian McCaffrey came back yesterday. He didn't really look good in his first game ramping up. So we'll see. But those are gonna be my three teams: the Jets, Cowboys, and 49ers. Most disappointing for me in 2024. What about you?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm gonna go Jets 100%. Um, I'll go Cowboys as well. And I'm kind of stuck between the Dolphins and the Bears. I know the Dolphins
Oh
because
yeah,
Tua.
Chicago. Yeah.
The Bears right now, I'm not sure what's going on with Caleb Williams. His own linemen aren't helping him up. Got sacked 9 times yesterday. They get traded for Keenan Allen. Got DJ Moore, draft Rome Odunze. Like this is a good team, and no, they lose at home to the Patriots. And then the Dolphins is you have all this talent, and to me, like I thought the Dolphins would be a wild card team. I didn't expect them to win the division, but Tua going down, and obviously the Jets and Cowboys. I mean, the Jets bought into their own hype, and they will be feeling this wrath for the next 2 or 3 years, I think, because they are so deep into what they thought was going to be that they're nowhere close to it. Nowhere
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, and I was just I think I was listening to somebody earlier, maybe like Colin Cowherd or somebody. He was talking about, it made a really good point, like how Aaron Rodgers kind of feels like a mercenary for the Jets. It's not like he's like really bought into the team itself. It's like he's such a polarizing player. He's kind of separated himself from the franchise. And like I could totally see that. And you see there's like a lack of emotion on the field. You can tell like again, I don't think all the guys are necessarily all the way bought into Aaron Rodgers and kind of seems a little bit spoiled because he gets pretty much everything he wants. The coach that he didn't really like all that much, right? At least speculative, that's what we thought. They got him out of there, right? Thought he was the problem. Then they went ahead and they got his buddy Devontae Adams to reunite them two, and that still hasn't worked out really. We haven't really seen them, have that connection like they used to. So yeah, man, it's rough right now for Jets fans.
Yeah, and they go and sign Simpson from us, and they trade for Morgan Moses, and their line still is not good.
Yeah,
Once again, a Lamar tax for our line is a thing because Aaron Rodgers is nowhere near as mobile, and he's getting sacked a lot. I saw it yesterday in the Cardinals game. So
yeah.
that good luck. Um, some more questions in here. I see you're talking about the quote that Mahomes said. Um, can you let me know when they're behind me? That was a funny one. That the hot mic. You see that online?
Yeah, yeah. I think it, he was trying to make sure that they were like lined up correctly or something like that. He was trying to tell the ref to like, hey, let us know if we're out of place, something like that. I want to say, right?
Yeah, week one, Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah. They get all the benefits of the doubt. Taquan Christian says here, what is the move at safety after Marcus Williams had a bad game and Harbaugh seems frustrated at his play as well because of what he said today at the presser? Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough decision going forward because I don't think that you can just keep flip-flopping him and Eddie Jackson and, have really no continuity out there week to week. I think that they stick with Marcus Williams. Um, Me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the maybe one of the younger guys go in, get some play, see who can, hold that position down. What are you thinking?
Yeah, um, he looks lost out there, Marcus
Yeah,
Williams. He's looking the wrong way. He's just not everything we saw from him in 2022, and even last year with one arm. It's all gone. It's like somebody took all of his footballing ability. It's just not there anymore, and it's sad to see because we know how good he was. When he was healthy and when it was there. I think you stick him back out there. Um, 70 million, like Shamal says. I think you got to stick him out there. And if it really does get to any worse, Bo Braid, Snoozy game, Ardarius Washington's been getting a lot of looks. But Yeah, I mean, I think Micah Hyde's available if you really want to go down that route and sign somebody else, but it ain't looking good. Is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Let me see what we have here. I think I had another question. This one coming from Jamel Malik says, "Do you guys have any real faith in Tre'Davious White?" Yes, we probably will see him for the first time against the Steelers. That'll be interesting. I mean, hey, look, man, we kind of have to. We kind of have to, and I think that the move is like it's going to be a net positive because we basically got him for free. It's not like we invested a bunch of draft capital or things like that. Like we basically got him for free. So I think in terms of depth, especially as we go down the stretch of the season, we're going to need him. So yes, I do have faith in him and just being a healthy body there, and hopefully he can kind of turn back the clocks a little bit and make some plays. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We got another one in here. Where was that? Do you think if there's a chance that KC goes undefeated, Pat Mahomes could win MVP?
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
I mean, that's a solid question considering like how are you going to be undefeated and your quarterback not win the MVP? But with the numbers he has, it's hard to give it to him. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I mean, he didn't even really wow me in week one. And I'm not trying to no hate here. He's not been playing as we've seen in previous years. And guess what? He'll turn it on in the playoffs. This is a Ravens fan saying that he will turn it on in the playoffs. And we'll all be like, well, that's why he's the best in the league. But it's just, I don't think you could give it to him because up to
No.
now, like, what game of his, like, wow, like, that's another Mahomes, 4 touchdown, 5 touchdown performance where he just makes it look easy. Like, it hasn't
Nope.
been there.
Yeah, they're all like one possession games, very ugly, grinded out type of football games. And if he continues to win like that, then absolutely not. Even if they did go undefeated in the regular season, I don't think that you could justify giving Patrick Mahomes that award. I think, the defense is the most valuable thing to the Chiefs right now. And but with the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is the most valuable thing going on in the castle. So I think when you put it like that, you have to give it to Lamar Jackson because there is nobody, and I mean nobody. And Jared Goff just lost his spot yesterday after throwing 5 picks, right? Um, Lamar Jackson, he's kind of running away with the MVP at this very moment. And if he strings together a couple more like MVP type performance games, which I think he will in the next couple of weeks, yeah, I think you just have to give it to him. But yeah, to answer your question, D-Was, even if they go undefeated, I do not think that they could give Pat Mahomes MVP unless from this day on, from this week forward, he goes out and he's throwing 3, 4 touchdowns per game and he just looks awesome. Otherwise, I don't think that they can justify that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Let me
here for something
see.
bigger. That's Super Bowl.
Right. Let me see. Boz says top 3 most surprising teams
Ooh,
this year so far.
you know,
What's going on, Boz? Appreciate you for coming through.
I think the Steelers are gonna be in mine. If you would have told me they'd be what 8-2, 7-2, wherever they are,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed you at all. I thought Russell Wilson was washed. I knew their defense was good, but I would not have had them at this record right now. I'll be honest with you. Commanders, D-Wa says that I'm right there with the
Right.
Commanders.
For sure.
Wasn't expecting them to be as good. Surprising. Cardinals is a good shout as
I about to
well.
say, dare I say the Cardinals? They've been playing some good football recently.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, other than that, I can't really think of any other super surprising teams
yeah. I mean,
this
I'll tell you what, the
season.
Falcons showed me who the Falcons are with Kirk Cousins yesterday. That's
Yeah.
why I can't trust them. I can't call them contenders because they put up performances like that, and you lose to the Saints who had no business winning that game. I thought just Kirk Cousins on the Falcons. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good top three.
Somebody says Broncos as well. Mm, they're frisky. I think if they win that game
Solid.
yesterday, we're definitely having that conversation for sure.
I'll I'll throw the Chargers in there, considering what they lost. I'll throw them as the honorable mention.
I wouldn't put them as surprising. I think we expected with the addition of Jim Harbaugh, he's going to unlock Justin Herbert. They got a new offense, and by the way, when you look at their stats, like their box scores, you can tell it's a Greg Roman run offense. Like it's so painfully obvious, and it's just kind of funny looking at that, knowing that that used to be our guy. And our games, our stats used to look like that, that same thing. But yeah, I don't know if I could necessarily say that the Chargers were surprising. I think that 6-3. I think they're 6-3 right now, or 7-3. One of those. That's about where I would expect them to be 10 games in, to be honest with you. So yeah, I don't know if I'd agree there. Somebody says Vikings as well. Vikings,
I think they're frauds still.
little
I still
fraudulent. Yeah, yeah, I think they're frauds
you
too.
know disappointing. Jags. I'm throwing them in there too. Jags.
True. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've been disappointing really since year one of Trevor Lawrence. Uh, that just never really panned out. That was supposed to be one of the golden boys of the NFL by now. Like by now, Trevor Lawrence should be winning Super Bowls, right? With how we were talking him up when he first came into this league. What is he in year like? What, five, 4 or 5?
4 or 5. Yeah. 4.
Year
4.
4. Yeah,
Yeah, because he's same
yeah,
class as Bate.
yeah.
4.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been disappointing. He has indeed
Yeah.
been disappointing. Jags game was awful yesterday, and he just got paid. He's one of the top, highest paid quarterbacks in the league. So there's that.
And I'm not gonna count my chickens before they hatch, but the Texans have been looking real disappointing these past couple of weeks. I
Yeah,
don't. I went to sleep after the first half. I'm like 23-7. I'm like, well, Lions. It was cool. Just got humbled. I wake up. Lions won. I'm like, what? I saw, what went down. 5 interceptions for Jared Goofball. That's why I call him that. Because he has those moments. He has those games. 5 interceptions. See, a
yeah,
Jackson 5
5.
and a golf 5. Two different meanings.
Yeah, 5 picks is crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
That
That is
shot caliber.
insane. Yeah, that's
Unreal.
crazy. I see some of you guys giving some shout outs to Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid, saying we can, maybe we can see what they have to offer at safety. It can't be any worse than what we've got now. I see that's kind of like the general consensus in the chat here. I agree. That's like I was saying earlier. I think that anything else than what we have now, Marcus Williams, like my guy Alex said, he does look lost out there, and it's so crazy to think that he played better last year with a bum arm than he is now, healthy, and it's just I don't know. It's almost like he forgot how to play the position or something like that. Like the one touchdown, the one play touchdown to Jamar Chase on Thursday night's game really just makes you look at this defense, look at the secondary, and it really makes you question should we have Brandon Stevens and Marcus Williams on the same side of the field? Because it just doesn't seem to be working out. And I tweeted this. Brandon Stevens gives receivers free releases, right? Just free. He's not going to get hands on you within 5 yards to throw off the timing or anything like that. Jamar Chase was able to just run right by him. And by the time Jamar Chase hit his top speed, Marcus Williams is still backpedaling and he just runs right by Marcus Williams. And that's an easy 6. Those two guys have got to get on the same page. And I think that, kind of shifting it back to Brandon Stevens, man. And this is what I tweeted. He's got to get hands on guys. He's got to get hands on guys because on that play, or no, there was actually another play where Jamar Chase runs a comeback route. And again, Brandon Stevens gives him a free release. And the timing is just so perfect between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. The ball is right there where it needs to be. And Stevens stood no chance at all. And the worst thing about it is Burrow stared him down. Joe Burrow stared him down on that play. And it's just like, yeah, if you're just going to give this to us for free, we'll take it each and every time. And I'm afraid that same thing is going to happen against the Steelers with George Pickens on, those third and longs, third and mediums, right? They're just going to pick on Stevens.
Yeah. And that's why I don't want to see him again. And I think it's funny, and I don't, we can start talking about the Bengals game. How, when the game's on the line, you don't go to the best receiver on your team. Argue to me, a top 3 in the game. You don't go to him. That is unbelievable, and he kind of said it, 7-11, always open. But he's on Stevens. He's on the guy who's been beating him all game. Like, if I'm Burrow, you got to go to Jamar Chase on that. And
yeah.
If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm just feeling a little deflated right now just from that. But 4-6, their schedule is kind of favorable. I hate to say it, but in those 2 games that play against the Steelers, I'm hoping the Steelers beat them twice. I don't, like I said, I don't want them in the playoffs because we know what they can do. If they get in. They're kind of like Joe Flacco. Don't let him get in the playoffs because you know what he can do. But now, when he was with us, obviously, when the Browns, he's the Browns. But yeah, I don't want to see him in the playoffs because they will get out.
Yeah, because that's the thing about the Bengals, man. Like those type of games, they'll have a game like they had on Thursday night with us. They'll have that easily in the AFC Championship game or a divisional game. Well, they'll just go toe to toe with whoever they are facing. And, a couple things go their way, go differently, they can win those games. And we've seen that before. They've literally walked into Arrowhead and took one away from Patrick Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. So I totally agree with you there. I don't want to see this team again until 2025. And preferably next season, not
Yeah,
playoffs
yeah,
2025.
yeah.
So it's yeah, that's where we're at with that. Let me see if you guys have any more questions down here in the chat. Anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here? Like I said, we're not going to hold you guys too long on this episode since we're kind of in between games. But let me see. If Lamar wins his third MVP, can he be considered as one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time? So yeah, I think so. I think so because there's guys like Dan Marino who are also considered top 10 of all time, right? But don't have the playoff success or the Super Bowl success that they want. Who do you got?
That's my stipulation. If you have Dan Marino in your top 10, then I think Lamar can be considered top 10. If you don't have him because of the ring, I have to respect your argument and say
Right.
you want your guy. But if he is in your top 10, Dan Marino, I think Lamar has to be in your top 10 if he wins. If.
Yeah.
But obviously I want I screw that third MVP. I just want to get that ring. Screw it. I trade in those two MVPs for one ring at this point. So
Honestly, I mean, it gives as a Ravens fan, Lamar Jackson's MVPs, it kind of gives you like a leg up in like debates and whatnot, right? When you're trying to debate on whose quarterback is better or whatever, it's like, well, my quarterback's got two MVPs and a third one loading, right? Like that does feel good to say. I will say that. I will say that. But I need that ring, man. I need that ring more than I need air, man. Honestly, at this point, because it's just been so. We're in year 7 of the Lamar Jackson era, and we have not made it to a Super Bowl yet. And the window to win a Super Bowl before, the cap balloons and everything like that, because Lamar's contract is not that big, right? So we've got to make it happen. And like you said, I would trade in the MVPs. I would at the end of the day for at least one Super Bowl victory. And I think it's still very, very possible. It's still very, very possible. We're one of the best teams in the league right now. Lamar Jackson, the third MVP is loading because it's looking like this team, if the defense can turn it around and at least be average, right, we can probably get to a Super Bowl, right? So, yeah, if he wins his third MVP, I think that in short, yes, we should consider him top 10 of all time. The window is right now, absolutely.
yeah, I think about last year and it just is defense, man. Got to get his ish together. So actually, we didn't talk about this. There was that report that came out. I don't know if we did talk about how we did offer a third for Marshawn Lattimore. We were trying to get Jadeveon Clowney back, and they wanted too much for him, which I get that. But how many picks do we have? The window is now. Give up those 2 picks that they want, as long as they aren't a second or a third for Clowney, which is unbelievable.
Crazy.
A third for Lattimore, I get it. I'm not gonna lie, I would understand that, but give up a fifth and a sixth for Clowney. If he is better than what we have, bring him in because we need it, and it showed it on Thursday night. Try to get Campbell. Calais, apparently, if those reports are true that the Dolphins asked for too much for Calais Campbell, he would never do this. Ask for your release. The Dolphins aren't going anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. Let that man get the ring that he wholeheartedly deserves. That the one thing that's missing from his cabinet. He has 100 sacks. Walter Payton Man of the Year. One of the most respected guys in the game. He needs that ring. Let him have it. And just the Dolphins, Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. And I agree. I think that the Ravens should have tried to be just a little bit more intentional. Again, we don't know what conversations were had exactly and, what negotiations were had. But I think you have to take a big swing and get a relevant, a needle mover on the defense, right? And I think Jadeveon Clowney could have been that. We saw last year with this pass rush, he almost led the team in sacks. I think he was like second to Madubuike. But man, we needed that because the pass rush is still anemic, right? I know we got home a couple of times against Burrow. People say he was running for his life, but I need to see more game wrecking third down stops. I need to see more of that, not more of just, I need to see more sacks. Damn it! Like honestly, at the end of the day, like that's what it boils down to, and we haven't been getting that. And I thought that the Ravens would try to go after a guy like Clowney in order to get those totals up because we're just not getting any pressure. We're just not getting any pressure on these quarterbacks, man. And I'm afraid of what even like a Russell Wilson is going to be able to do. Feel comfortable back there in that pocket and throw up that rainbow ball to George Pickens or whoever else it is. Man, not ready for that. Not ready for that. Again, we're going to preview more on Thursday, so we're going to talk about that then. But yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, that's kind of all I have. It just would have been a big boost to the edge. The edge,
Yeah,
just having Clowney back from last year, it just would have felt. I would have been a lot more comfortable with what we have. But now it's like who's going to get that sack on third and 7, 3rd and 8? Nope.
right.
Burrow escapes the pocket a yard behind the line of scrimmage, hits Jamar Chase 15 yards, move the chains. And it
Yeah,
felt like he was
like
doing it all night.
right. Like it feels like the edge rush has like zero pop either.
Yeah.
Like you know how when you watch certain guys play, like a Miles Garrett or like a TJ Watt, they burst off the line of scrimmage, man. And you can tell the impact that they're making like milliseconds into the play. We don't have that at all. At all. A game wrecker, somebody who's going to muddy up the waters for a quarterback and make sure that that quarterback knows where that player is located on the field at all times. We don't have that. We do not have that. Um, by the way, TJ Watt, speaking of TJ Watt, didn't record a single sack or tackle yesterday against the Washington
Cardio.
Commanders. So yeah, just straight up cardio yesterday. Uh, but shout out to TJ Watt. I know he's gonna have his hands all over the game on Sunday. So you know, just wanted to bring that up. Just wanted to mention that.
Highsmith
But
out looking like as well, 2 to 3 weeks.
oh yeah, that's right. That's
So,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, this week, another week, Mr. Queen, we aren't friends. You are not a friend of the show this week.
Oh, dang,
Hey,
Alex is stamping it. Okay, okay.
it's all love, but business is business, and I hope the
Yes.
Ravens stand on business. But that's going to be definitely the storylines. It'll be fun. It'll definitely be fun to see what we do and how chippy the game gets. Like this could be a game that brings back the rivalry of the Ravens Steelers. I hope we're both far ahead of our rivals in division. Like this is the one. Let's see if this is the rivalry game that we've been waiting for since Joe and Ben. So
Yeah.
hopefully it is, and we win in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean that game is going to really come down to which team can establish the run and shut down the other team's run sooner, right? Because you look at the game yesterday between the Steelers and Commanders. The Steelers won the time of possession game by I think like almost over 10 minutes. You know, they were running the ball, they were staying on the field, and that's kind of what the Ravens like to do as well. So it's going to be a war of attrition, trying to see who can kind of establish dominance in that regard. Again, Ravens have a really good run defense. Steelers have a good run defense. It's going to be wow. It's going to be a really good game. That's all I can say. And we're going to preview it on Thursday. So again, not going to talk about it too much. And I think that we're going to go ahead and leave it there for this episode of the
One thing.
show. Oh,
One thing.
Alex has got one more thing. Okay,
Jamal.
what's up?
He says Lamar is going to attack PQ and Deshaun. He attacked Geno Stone. This is 100% correct. He was picking on Geno that game. Got 2
Mm,
touchdowns on his head. Would not surprise me if he does the same against the Steelers.
yeah, yeah. And I can imagine that the Ravens and game planning this week, Todd Monken is kind of talking with Harbaugh and the other coaches like, hey, how can we put PQ in a bind this week, right? How can we get him kind of confused and throw him off? They already know the type of player that PQ is, so maybe that'll be a little bit easier. It'll be very, very interesting to see how they game plan for him. I also tweeted the other day that we do miss Patrick Queen's blitzing ability up the middle, like just how lightning quick he was and how he was able to overwhelm an offensive line by just kind of like bursting through the A or the B gap and just getting to the quarterback or getting to the ball carrier was underrated because we don't really have that anymore. Roquan's not really quick enough, I'd say, to get through there. His blitzes get picked up pretty easily. Trenton Simpson, I haven't really seen him on a whole lot of those plays either, but we're definitely missing that from PQ. But like you said again, we ain't friends this week, PQ. We ain't, man. We got to get this W, man. We need this one. We need this one bad too. So yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a good game. Gonna be a good game. Again, we're gonna preview it all on Thursday, so make sure you stay locked into the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button down below and like this video if you did enjoy the content. Listen, man, we're getting down the stretch of this season,
Yeah.
and you know, pretty soon you're gonna be watching football on Sunday nights, right? And you're gonna be seeing the little graphic that they put up towards the end of each regular season, like, oh, here's the playoff picture if the season
Oh,
ended today. If the season ended today's season, that's what season is coming up pretty soon. So make sure you stay locked into our channel because we're covering all things Ravens as we normally do. Again, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def, like you see below. And you can follow him on X at SimplyAS10, excuse me, and on Instagram at simplyas10.prod, and pretty much just anywhere simplyas10, right? But okay, with that being said, and also a shout out to Manscaped as well. Manscaped. You can go on there, save 20% off your full order plus free international shipping with our code PRP. Don't you forget it. Yes. Okay. With that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out. Boz is funny.
thank you for coming through to this lovely Monday episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. As always, happy Steelers week and stay positive, test negative.
Yes. And never, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's an episode 277 of PRP. We're gonna catch you guys in the next one.